A little bit of LaCroix. Tim, you need to get on the LaCroix. It's good. All right, let's talk about one of my favorite eras of music, and that is the Motown era. And it is, it's kind of near and dear to my heart because whenever I first got my, when I got my first, full-time professional gig, move over to New Orleans, I was in a horn band, and they were playing all these songs that I did not know. Doing Earth, Wind, and Fire, and James Brown, and Gap Band, and Casey and the Sunshine Band, all this disco and dance stuff, Chicago with horns in it, and I just was having to catch up. And one of the areas that I had to catch up with was Motown. We did a Motown medley, as well as several other songs, and I just became enamored with that time period and the drumming. Benny Benjamin, Uriel Jones. And then you have Richard Pistol Allen, and you have these iconic figures that just cut so many #1 hits, right? And so if you ever want a good history on that, you should go check out Standing in the Shadows of Motown. It's an awesome documentary. But anytime there's a musical movement like that, even if it's in the pop realm with that many #1s and that much popular music attached to it, we should dissect what was happening there because something right was happening there, whatever chemistry was there. And there's 5 drum fills that I like to point drummers to get the Motown sound. Like you can hear them all over the recordings. And so I kind of want to break those out, my top 5 Motown drum fills. And they're very similar to each other, but they used them all over the recordings because they just worked. And it's for the most part a 2-beat fill and played 5 different ways. You can actually usually tell which drummer was playing on the recording by how they played this fill because they all had different ways to play it. And so we're going to check out the first way. Now the first way here is the basic outline of the fill. It's going to be on beats 3 and 4. And it's going to go 3 on the high tom, 3 E and the on the snare drum, downbeat of 4 on the snare drum, and then the and on the floor tom. Now it seems like a very simple fill, and it is, but it works. You can hear this exact drum fill in the song My Girl. And so this is a very good example of one that they used over and over. And this is kind of the first iteration. So it's going to go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and 1, 2, 3. All right, so that's going to be the first version of that drum fill. Now we can fill in those 16th notes and kind of accent the notes that we just played, and it turns into a fill that looks a lot like this. 3 E and a 4 and. Now if you want the sheet music for this, be sure and look in the video description. You can download that sheet music. There's a link for it as well in the comments. I've pinned a comment for you. That's free, no strings attached. Go snag it and learn these drum fills. So that is going to be kind of the underlying skeleton for the next couple of drum fills for 2 and 3. And so that #1, kind of the first iteration of that, moving it along a little further. And then we have #2. Now #2 is that same drum fill, except we're putting the diddle in the middle of that drum fill, all right? So now the E and the and of 3 are going to become double strokes, or 32nd notes. So it's going to go 3 E and a 4 and. Now this is a very good example of how Benny Benjamin would play this drum fill. So if we're here, 1 E and a 2 E and a. That's a very good example of Benny Benjamin playing that drum fill. So let me play that in the context of a groove. 1, 2, 3. All All right, now we can take that a little bit further and add one more note to it. And if we add one more note to it, we have the third variation of this drum fill, or my top, in my top 5, the number 3. And that is going to be on 4. We're going to play that same fill we put a 6-stroke roll in there. That's what that is. Right, left, right, right, left. That's going to be a 6-stroke roll. So if we keep that 6-stroke roll in there, and then instead of playing just the downbeat on beat 4, if we play 4E, and then still put and on the floor tom, that's going to be the third variation of this drum fill. So 3E and up, 4E and 3E and up, 4E and. So that's going to be the third iteration of that drum fill, all right? We have kind of the basic outline of the fill. Number 2 would be how Benny Benjamin would play it. Another modification of that is number 3. Then we have how Uriel Jones would be playing this drum fill, okay? Now, we're going to kind of mix number 1 and number 3. So if we take number 1 and number 3, we take beat 3 from number 1, except we're not playing it on the high tom. It's going to go 3E and and then on number 3, it goes 4E and. So 3E and 4E and. 1, 2, 3, and up. 1, 2. Let me put that in a groove for you. 1, 2. Faster? That's going to be the fourth iteration. Now that would be how Uriel Jones would play it, okay? They operated this studio just almost 24 hours a day, and so they would just rotate groups coming in, and it's got mixed up as to who played on what track sometimes. But a lot of times you can pick apart who played on those tracks specifically by the drum fill that they did. All right, the last one's going to be Richard Pistol Allen's version of this. And what he's going to do is he's going to eliminate that first note. So he's going to change it up a little bit. And so he's going to start on the and of 3. So it's going to go 3 and 4E and then and on the high tom. It's very small variations, but sometimes those are all that matters. So, I mean, literally that small variation, you can tell that it's Richard Allen instead of Uriel Jones or Benny Benjamin. And so we have to pay attention to these types of things in pop music and world rhythm, anything. When you're picking apart the music, really dig into it. Understand what makes, even if it's simple, why are those simple things there? These guys were phenomenal players. Why did they put those things there? Why did they work? Why were there so many #1 hits from that era with these guys playing on it? There's something to that, okay? So it deserves our time to dig into it, even if it's simple things, because these are not just simple things. They're very useful things that I use in my playing all the time. And I guarantee if you play one of these 5 drum fills, one of the band members are going to turn around and go, that's Motown. Like, you got it. You figured, like, that's the sound. And that's what we want to bring, is you don't have to cop the drum parts exactly, but you want to put some of those staples in there so that it sounds familiar to the listener's ear. So if we play that, it's going to go 3 and 4E and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. And there you have it. That is 5 drum fills that will work in any Motown song. And now go back and listen through the catalog of Motown music and see if you can pick out who's playing on which one, and I guarantee you, you can pick out these drum fills in so many of those songs. So hopefully this has helped you. Hopefully this will give you some drum fills that you can use. If you're ever wanting a complete personalized lesson program for your individual needs, jump over to the website. The Drum Better Daily membership that's what it offers. There's hundreds of lessons in there. They're all categorized in very organized fashion. There's a forum in there, tons of people hanging out and students learning, and so and I help each one of them come up with a lesson plan for themselves based upon their specific needs. So if you need that, jump over to the website, check that out. The links below this as well. Don't forget to download the sheet music. The links below this are in the comments. I've pinned it as well as in the video description. If this has helped you, hit that thumbs up button, share it with somebody you think it may also help. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I don't know what you're doing. You're breaking my heart. You need to subscribe to the channel because I'm putting out videos now 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 11 a.m. Try not to miss any of those. And so yeah, lots of stuff here to learn. But no matter what you do, I'll see you here in the next video.